Okay, there we go. We are now live on our second week of actually achieving our live stream. Yeah, we actually managed to do two in a row. Woo! And I have even scheduled the next 52 live streams on Facebook. I've been
Good.
busy scheduling, so there you go. So we have got them all booked in for the next 52 weeks,
Every
uh,
Wednesday. That's what people
every
need to
Wednesday,
remember.
7 o'clock. So
Yeah, I'm
let's
available
get
for everyone.
it's entertainment. We may not all be here, but one of at least I will be. I guarantee that. We are going to talk a little bit, a quick couple of updates about the channel, and then we'll go through any local news and international news, and of course, any albums coming out this week. So, a couple of updates on the ADK channel. Nothing major has changed, but obviously, there's a couple of things we have got. So, Patreon, we was something we set up, but we haven't really talked about in the last sort of 12 months because we've just been focusing on other things on the channel. But we will be launching out all the tiers on the Patreon. There's a whole load of other stuff that's going to come into it, but effectively, it's a great way of supporting the channel. We will be adding some additional benefits into the previous tiers. Now that we're doing live shows, our medium to high tier Patreon support will also give you free entry to our monthly live show as well. So rather than having to buy a concert ticket, you'll just have to register to let us know you'll come in, and so we can take a ticket out of allocation. And of course, you get that for free as part of the Patreon. So good important part there. We've got dates coming for the 2025 live show. So we'll have a monthly every 4 weeks show out of the 6-6 bar. I will have the dates by end of this week. And I'll be pushing that out onto obviously all the groups, Facebook, and applications about if you want to play any of our shows will be only available. You'll need to go through the adkrockmetal.com site and complete the contact form on the webpage so that we know what sort of things you're into, what sort of band, all your details, upload an MP3, etc., all through the webpage. But that will be the route to apply to play any of our events. And we'll also be doing, which I haven't actually spoken to Andy or Kirk about, but I'll just drop this on you right now. So we will be opening up for video sponsors. So if you want to support the channel, another thing you can also do is if you want to sponsor any of our videos and put a 1 minute clip, whether it's you're a rehearsal studio, maybe you're a band and you want to talk about your music, or you want us to tell and put a clip up of your music and tell about what's going on, you will also be able to sponsor videos going forward. So again, more details on that will be coming. I've just got to get some more details behind it, but there are, again, everything is through the adkrockmetal.com website. There are pages set up for it. There are forms that you can complete, and they will all come through to the channel's website. And obviously, I can then get back to you via or channel's email, and I'll get back to you in the email with further details. Only other thing I've got is live events. Our next live event is on the 7th of November at the 6-6 bar. We have Cerebral Scar headlining with support from Raise the Devil, Broken States, and Acts of Vengeance. It's a great lineup, one of our favourite. It's probably the strongest lineup we've put together for this coming up. Not to say that the other lineups aren't great, but this is a really, really strong, big, heavy. If you're into the real heavy stuff, this is a great lineup to come and check out. Tickets are available via our events page, so please head on over, grab some tickets, and we will see you there on the 7th. Let's get to news then. So, local news from the grassroots scene. Kirk, what we got?
Congratulations, we know that one of our local heroes, Praetorian, have just signed to APF Records, and they'll be releasing the band's debut album, Pylon Cult. There's not a specific date in 2025, but we know it's imminent. I've spoken to Andrew Bisgrove, the drummer, and I know that they've completed the writing and recording of that. Just to give you some background, APF Records, that's a UK-based label. It's also host to bands such as Barbarian Hermit, that great stoner doom band from Manchester, Battalions, that Yorkshire sludge metal band, and you've also got bands like Swamp Coffin from Rotherham, who I actually reviewed 2 weeks ago for Scream Last Repeat. Fabulous third album they've just put out. So they're in good company. You might also know that Liverpool band Video Nasties, who are well rated by Kerrang and Metal Hammer. They play like blackened rock and roll, and obviously their songs are influenced by 1980s band horror films. So yeah, some good stuff on there. Void Lurker as well are on that label. So well done to Tom Clements, to Mark Wilkie, to Bisgrove, and of course to Richard Stevenson, all friends of ADK.
Do we have any information about the type of record deal that's involved in this? Because obviously, record deals have changed a lot in the years. I know that obviously, Lowdown have got a record deal with their what they're doing. It used to be like the record companies would do a big advance and that would sort it, and there'd be a lot of funding. Now, obviously, with the smaller bands, I have no idea. So, do we know if with Praetorian was this something that they went out and recorded the album, and that the label is doing distribution and obviously nowadays it's all pretty much all digital streaming anyway, but are they focusing more on that side of it and doing the PR campaign, or is it a lot of case of just basically giving them a bit of clout from behind the scenes?
Yeah, I can answer that because I interviewed another band that signed with APF this year called Urza, that Bristol
Right.
sludge post-metal band. And Praetorian's very similar. They've already recorded and paid for their album, and then they shop it around to labels. So APF have not had to put any money into that. What they will be doing is printing the 12-inch vinyl. That's one of the benefits of signing to APF. You sign with them, and they're going to put out a high-quality 12-inch vinyl. There will be some, I don't know if they offer tour support. I mean, where's the money going to come from to be paying for that? But I think on the next album, if the relationship continues, they might put some funding into that. But if you sign a deal with a label like APF and you've already recorded it and paid for it, it's the distribution benefits and the clout, Dave, as you said, that's certainly going to help. So all those applications.
Because obviously I've asked the question previously about local small record labels, etc., about whether it's better to go for management company over a record label, because obviously the record label will deal with your record side of it, but they're not managing the band, and they're not necessarily pushing your festival supports and all that lot. That's what your management company is. I don't know if APF is also managing the band. Did you any idea on that?
You do keep those separate. So you're right. Maybe that's a good question, isn't it? I think here, certainly the prestige it gives you, Metal Hammer, Kerrang, they will review this now because it's on a recognized label.
Right.
So
Okay.
you get those access benefits, but you're right. You have to split those operations now, don't you? If you're on a label, it's rare that they're going to be doing the management side of things for you as well. And let's not forget Richard Stevenson, his other band, Dead Flesh, have signed a management deal, haven't they? They've gone for that
Yeah.
route. Whereas Praetorian, I know they were looking at Svart Records. Andy, you'll probably like that label, won't you? Svart Records. They were looking at them as a potential label, but I think APF, I know, was definitely one of the top three. So they love all those bands. Some of those bands on that roster have influenced Praetorian, and they're friends with them. So there's a real good scene there, for the heavier sludge post-metal
Okay.
doom stuff, and they're at the heart of it, certainly in the UK, APF Records.
Okay, let's move on to international news. Not a huge amount as far as I have from the scene, but I guess we're going to throw over to Andy to kind of kick this one off, because seeing as you're wearing your Iron Maiden t-shirt, we should talk about obviously the big news that came out from Iron Maiden scene.
Well, it's British news, really, isn't it? But I think we will talk about sort of international and global bands. But yeah, very sad news that happened on Monday, or was announced on Monday, that the passing of Paul Di'Anno, well, not original, but the sort of the vocalist from Iron Maiden who recorded their first two albums, unfortunately passed away at his home, I think in Surrey, and yeah, it's a huge shock to me personally, and thousands of, well, millions maybe of Maiden fans, because many will think like me, the first two albums that Di'Anno recorded were their best, certainly set the scene, set the building blocks for the band to become the global superstars that they are today. And yeah, very, very, very sad. I mean, I came home about 5 o'clock from work, opened Facebook, top of my feed was a post from my friend Vinny from Elderseer, and he simply just put the two album covers, Iron Maiden and Killers, and said, "You all need to be listening to these today." And I kind of, the penny dropped almost immediately. I thought, I know what this means. And so I headed over to Google, and there was the confirmation. A couple of news outlets, a couple of British newspapers had shared stories. And yeah, really, really sad. Myself and Carl, my friend Carl Lawrence from Black Skull Ritual, would you see Paul Di'Anno perform at the Junction in Cambridge next month? I can't remember who was the support act or what it was, exactly the format, because Carl sorted it all out. But yeah, I was looking forward to that, and it's a real blow.
I mean, one of the things, because obviously I'd seen posts from Paul Diano's live shows, and I couldn't remember if he was in a. He's always sitting down, so I know that he'd had health problems, but I wasn't sure. I don't know what the background of his health, because there's not been really any announcement that I've seen about specifically what had happened.
No,
I've not read much detail, so
No cause of death has been announced.
because
no.
I was just sort of, when you say you were surprised, I was like, he would be one. There was, when you sort of see him on stage and so forth, he's sort of struggling. He's not necessarily struggling for the performance, but you could tell he's not able to get out, up and move around. And you kind of was like, well, his health's not great anyway. So
No.
it's one of those ones you never want it to happen, but it was not necessarily a surprise in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly lived a rock and roll lifestyle. I mean, he's not just sitting down; he's wheelchair bound.
He's in a wheelchair. Sorry.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of motorcycle accidents, and I couldn't find the exact details, but he had a incident on stage in Croatia, I think, a few years ago. So I'm not absolutely sure of his health conditions, but I know he's been sort of wheelchair bound for a number of years, but still carries on performing. I think in the sort of 12 months leading up to his death, or earlier this month, he completed 100 shows in sort of a 12 calendar month period, which is quite staggering. I assume the vast majority of his live performances, what the fans want to hear, which is the Maiden tracks, but obviously he's involved in lots and lots of other projects since the early 80s, which is a bloody long time, 40 years ago, so Battle Zone, Killers, I think he fronted Praying Mantis, another new wave of British heavy metal band for a period of time. But I must admit, I haven't really heard much of those sort of other projects. He has recorded many Iron Maiden songs on various of those albums and sort of compilations, that kind of thing. So I've obviously checked those out, and he can still, and even a few live clips, he can still deliver the Maiden songs really, really well. And the musicians he's employed do a good job at sort of replicating those classic songs.
I wonder how many people really only know Iron Maiden with Bruce Dickinson. They don't know that, obviously, that of Paul being in the band from the early days, or even Blaze, but obviously Blaze Bailey for the later. But
yeah,
I mean, it's one of those ones I was sitting there thinking about when you think about there are certain former band members before a band really took off, they're still going out and kind of touring around, that people still don't realize were part of that band.
Yeah.
Which is sad, because obviously it's part of the history of the band. But I suppose if you do really get into it, when you start going back through the albums, you start to realize, and you listen to those, when you listen to Killers, you listen to it and go, well, that's definitely ain't Bruce Dickinson singing that. So who the hell is it?
One thing I noticed today, because I played Killers again today, most, if not all, of the songs are delivered from the first person perspective on Killers. And I'm thinking, is there even a concept? Is it a concept album about murdering people? Hence the name. I don't know, but it sounds so different from, the lyrics are, substandard compared to the later day Iron Maiden, but it's so poignant for me because it was the first album I bought. I got into Iron Maiden from listening to Number of the Beast in 1982 as a single release, and then the first album I bought was Killers, because somebody gave me a tape copy of Number of the Beast. But first album I bought for myself was Killers, and it's still my favourite Maiden album to date.
I was going to ask you that, Andy. When I speak to my friends about Maiden, they all love Killers, and then they also love Peace of Mind, which is a follow-up to Number of the Beast, isn't it? Are those two in your top three Iron Maiden albums as well? So is Peace of Mind probably your second favourite after Killers?
Yeah, that's not a bad chat, but that's for different reasons. I mean, I've got a strong affinity to Peace of Mind because I've got an amazing piece of Iron Maiden history, which is Nico McBrain's gold disc for Peace of Mind, which was given to me by his sister, who I used to work with. Long story, but that's I've got that. Yeah, actually, he was going to chuck it out, and she said, "I know somebody who'd like that." One of my co-workers, and she salvaged it, reframed it, and sent it to me. And it's hidden away. It needs to be pride of place on the wall somewhere. But I've never really thought about my favourite top three Iron Maiden now. Killers is certainly number one. It's certainly in that first 15-year period up to probably Fear of the Dark. There's not many after that that sort of are fighting for a place in the top three.
Just one more thing I want to ask on this as well. So I read the obituary It was the BBC actually did a really good piece, and two things stand out. One, there wasn't really any bad feeling between him and the group after his departure. According to him, he said that a lot of that was made up in the press.
Yeah.
And he did receive handsome royalty compensation for his co-writing credits. And he mentioned 4 songs. Can you tell us which is your favorite out of these 4? Remember Tomorrow, Killers, Sanctuary, and Running Free. Is there anything out of those 4 where you instantly think, wow, that's a desert island song by Iron Maiden?
I'm not a huge fan of Sanctuary, to be honest. I don't think the band are, because it was kind of like a 12-inch only sort of release. And it's one that took me a while to get to hear, because obviously back in the day, you didn't just find it on YouTube or Spotify. I had to sort of dig out the 12-inch single, and it's not my favourite song. But out of those, Killers itself is a great song as well. And Remember Tomorrow is almost a ballad in heavy metal terms, so that and that is quite poignant for the times we're in right now. But yeah, those two definitely. Running Free is kind of a live sort of not sing along, but it's a live favourite, isn't it? Very simple in terms of musical composition, but Killers has a great storyline. It's great guitar work as well. But yeah, favourite album, favourite artwork, favourite track.
Yeah. Do you think that laid the foundation for thrash metal, that album, Killers?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, there's some of the live versions I've heard this, yesterday and today. The tempo of the live performance is certainly up on the recorded version, so it does sound proto thrash. Is that a term? So yeah, possibly. Yeah, you might be right there. I'm sure many of the bands that sort of came out in the early thrash scene, Exodus gave a tribute to Paul, and a few others have said how much of an inspiration, sort of musically and vocally, the first 2 Iron Maidens are on their sort of band careers. The path of their bands have taken over from over the years.
Yeah.
So I know you had mentioned before we started, there was I know it's not related. Obviously, it's not brand new news. It's older news. But you had something about Yannick Gers. That was an older piece. Now, How did you come? How did this relate to obviously what you were talking about with Paul Di'Anno? So where's this come from?
It's not nothing to do with Paul Di'Anno, but it is Maiden related, and it's sort of a discussion point, really, rather than.
Okay.
I just saw something on Facebook where Yannick Gers, guitarist of Iron Maiden at the moment, injured a fan from his on-stage antics, which was, where they swing the guitar on the strap round the body.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure on many occasions when this is performed by guitarists, the old strap lock goes and the guitar goes flying into the crowd and it injured somebody. And then prior to that, he's got it wide, plugged in, and he's kind of just dragging it along the front row by the lead. And my question is, I don't particularly like Yannick Gers. I just think that showboating, and it doesn't fit in with the rest of the band because they're quite subdued, especially Dave Murray. He doesn't like the line.
I know he's really boring. He's
really boring in comparison. And since Adrian Smith rejoined in 1999 for the brand new Brave New World album, I just thought he's surplus to requirements.
He's one of the only things entertaining about Iron Maiden.
Say again.
For me, Yannick Gers is one of the only reasons I would actually go to an Iron Maiden show, because at least there's something to watch. The other, I think, Adrian Smith and Dave Murray, I'm like, can someone get a mirror and put it under their nose and see if they're still breathing? Oh yeah, they are. Okay, they're actually they are playing something. Fair enough.
Yeah,
because they don't do a hell of a lot. I've been to watch bands on stage where the musicians aren't doing it. A good example of this is Godsmack. If you watch Godsmack, Sir Sully, vocalist, really commanded the crowd. But if you start just watching the guitarist, I can't even remember his name. He sits there, he plays, he sings. He doesn't get into the songs. He doesn't rock out properly. And I'm watching him going, I'm so freaking bored right now. You are so boring. Because if it was just the songs I've come for, I'll just listen to the album. Because guess what? The songs are better on the album than what you're playing live. I'm here for a show. And that's what I want to see from Iron Maiden. I want to see. So I like that fact that Yannick knows that I don't even know if they've even turned his amp on. He may just not even have it plugged in. He might just be swinging his guitar and having a laugh.
This is the point. I mean, like I say, this incident I'm referring to, I think, happened in 2019. So it wasn't really news. It was sort of a discussion point to see if anybody else wants to sort of chip in their thoughts. But yeah, I mean, when I've sort of read sort of comments about these sort of posts, that people have said, is he even turned on? You know, I haven't heard any sort of 3-part guitar harmonies on Iron Maiden songs, but then I haven't given the later albums
he has
as much in-depth analysis as I know every single note of Killers and Number of the Beast and Peace of Mind, for example. So,
I mean, I have watched.
It's almost like Adrian Smith rejoined. It's almost like we can't kick him out like we did Blaze. You know,
he's basically, from what I can see, when I've looked at their playing, because I was trying to work this out myself on one of their live performances. I was like, can I work out what they're playing? So I was like, okay, so Dave, you've got Dave Murray's playing this lead part on this particular song. Adrian Smith was basically playing the chugging muted part. So he was like doing the gen, and you got Dave Murray going, and Yannick's just going,
or is he accenting the beginning of each bar with power chords?
So he's just doing power chords to thicken the sound. That's basically what I've seen him do. So he doesn't do a lot. He'll either do a lot of just single down picking, chugging, or he'll do open chords.
Does he do any soloing, Andy?
Yeah, I think he does.
Okay, but so we can. Yeah,
he did obviously the Adrian Smith parts when Adrian wasn't in the band, but I haven't seen a huge number of live performances with him. So I'm guessing on the material where there's all 3 guitarists, he must have some leads because I'm not doubting his musical ability. I've never.
And also, hang on. You got to remember also when Adrian Smith wasn't in the band and he was there part of the guys writing songs, then you can kind of go, well, Adrian, you can't play my parts on those songs. These are my songs.
Yeah.
Adrian, you can play the chords.
So what he's done,
the big power chords on that
he's done, that incident, that sometimes happens in football where teams are warming up and occasionally you might have someone practicing a penalty and they smash the ball and it hits someone in the crowd square on in the face and they think they've killed them. They're drinking the Bovril, can you imagine? And then this ball just slams against your face. And the person who's done it's like, oh my God, I think I've just killed someone. Are you okay? And they go over and they have to get the paramedics. Yeah. It's very rare, but it does happen. So did you read what became of the fan? Did he get compensation? Was there a lawsuit? What happened?
I don't know, to be honest. Like I said, once I realised it was when it was, I didn't really sort of follow it through. But, the comments were saying, it didn't seem like he had much concern for the injured fan. And I want to go back to what football matches do people drink Bovril, Kirk?
It used to be in the 1950s through to the 90s. You could get Bovril.
It's only with a flask each of Bovril, yeah.
And a rattle. Take your rattle.
Yeah.
Black cap boys in a scarf,
Yeah, but why else do you not like Yannick Gers then? Not just because of his flamboyance. Is there another reason? Do you think that he's
no, not really? No, I mean, the albums that he did, following Adrian Smith's departure, No Prayer for the Dying and Dance of Death. They're decent albums, and I'm not sure if he contributed much in the way of songwriting. I honestly don't know, but I just don't like guitarists. I mean, on our future reaction videos, there's one in particular. I'm not going to sort of give a spoiler to which one it is, but I've seen the video. I know the song, and it's appalling behaviour, in my opinion. No, appalling is the wrong word, but it just doesn't impress me what these 2 lead guitarists are doing in this particular music video and what they do probably in every live show. It's entertainment. It's doing a show rather than a gig like the band that Dave described, where he's bored shitless of watching the guitarist. But I'm just not a fan of lead guitars and showmanship, showboating, flamboyancy, whatever you want to call it.
Dave and I.
Yannick Gers is the epitome of
any
all
day. I'm all right, Dave. Van Halen. I wouldn't turn that off, would you? If there's Eddie shredding his guitar, it's going to stay on my.
He's another one. He's another one.
But if I saw David Lee Roth, I'd have to leave because I can't stand that twat. He's just annoying.
Yeah, he's a bit of a prick, isn't he?
He's a complete twat.
Yeah. I like David Lee Roth. And I like listening to Eddie Van Halen, but I can't stand watching him. There's one video where he's like got the neck like right next to his head, and he's like just putting all these Oh yeah, look at me.
Yeah, but I mean, look at
Yeah.
it. Look at what he's doing. It's like 99% of guitarists can't play it.
I mean, David Lee Roth, though, looks like some creepy high school music teacher that should just not be allowed near children. I swear to God. If you
No,
look
that's
at
just
him
the
there.
hot teacher video.
I don't know
Though.
why I called him a bit of a prick, actually. I don't really know anything about it. That was very harsh of me. I was just joining in there. Actually,
Well,
Just
I
join
need to
in.
retract
It's
that
fine.
statement. I don't know if he is a prick or not. I'm just being exceptionally
you're following
harsh.
my lead on Yannick Gers anyway. But yeah, it's
There
just
you
it
go.
wasn't news. It's sort of a discussion point. I'm just interested to see
Fair
if
enough.
got any views on it.
Let's get back to news then. So, Kirk, what we got?
Oh, just came out today. Announcement: Ukrainian prog metal sensations Ginger, or Ginger, as Dave calls them, which probably is helpful to call them Ginger. They released
Ginger.
their fifth album on the 7th of February 2025 via Napalm Records, and it's called Duel, as in to duel, to fight. And I remember buying their last record, Wallflowers, in 2021 on the day I had my first COVID-19 vaccination jab.
Okay, so it's been a while then since they've done an album. So that's
Yeah, it'll be.
because that
I
would
mean,
have been the
obviously,
reasons why. Because when you mentioned it to me about doing, I read it in the news as well. So I looked on the news sites and I was like, "Is this a newsworthy
yeah, it
discussion
is to
topic?
me.
Probably not." But then I was like,
I'm a fan.
It will be what 4 years almost since the last
Yeah,
album.
and don't forget, 2022 war broke out in their country, didn't it? So, by the end of 2022, President Zelensky had actually said, yes, go out and tour and be ambassadors for the Ukraine. So they've had a lot going on. I mean, the country's been invaded. They were already refugees 10 years earlier when they had to move to Poland, because these are actually Russian-speaking Ukrainians. So it's not a black and white issue, probably, with some members of their family. But yeah, I mean, to me, these are one of the best contemporary bands in metal. We all know Tatiana Shmelyuk is arguably the finest vocalist around at the moment. But yeah, real good prog metal sound. And these really got me back into heavy music. I had a few years where I'd stopped listening, and then I remember listening to their 2016 album, King of Everything, and it just caught my attention. Not because of, Tatiana, a female singer, musically, everything about it. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I do own every album they have on CD, including their Live in Melbourne album that Napalm Records released. And really, let's be honest, Napalm Records, man, this has got to be their biggest selling band. This band, the amount of merchandise that they're shifting, and even physical unit sales will be quite high. I mean, I bought the box set for the 2019 album, Macwell, where you got a cassette, you got a signed postcard, you got a lyric booklet, you got a bag as well, what they call, not a beanie bag.
Tote bag.
But what did you say?
Tote bag. Like
yes, that's it.
Yeah.
So I bought the whole box set in 2019. So yeah, to me that is news. But Dave, I understand, if you don't follow this band, it's just another 3 sentences on a website.
It's interesting, obviously, the CD, because CDs are in growth for the first time properly. It's seen significant growth. CD sales are at the moment.
Yeah, I saw that.
First time in years, whereas actually vinyl has had its first decrease in sales in the first time in 20 years. I think it is, or 25 years is the first. This is now the first year we've actually seen a decrease in vinyl and actually an increase in, and it's because the cost of vinyl. Vinyl is ridiculous. I mean, I went in HMV and I thought, I'll have a look at some of the albums that I like. And I went in there and I was like, this is 48 quid for a frigging vinyl. Are you taking the piss? I can buy the CD for 12 quid. Why on earth will I pay 48 quid for a brand new? That's insane. I wouldn't bother.
And they're reissues, aren't they, Dave? The reprints of like some of the classics that you might have had from back in the day. So they're not.
Yeah.
But that's the same sort of price you're getting from a new release as well. I mean, there's a shop here in Royston where I live, and they've got like a metal section, and I'm flicking through it. I'm thinking, yeah, I had that. Onslaught's the Force, Clandestine by Entombed, and they're like chatty old copies, not as good as the ones I had, and they're like 40, 50, 60 quid. It's like, Jesus.
First pressing.
That's where it's gone round. Yeah, the vinyl sellers have just pushed their prices right up now. It's crazy. Any other news from you, Kirk?
Yeah, can I bring in the topic? I'm going to quote the title of a YouTube video, and I'll give you the background. The epidemic of fake drumming videos. So let me just give you background on this. What caused this scandal? Well, that tech death band Archspire, the drummer Spencer Pruitt is leaving the band, so they're auditioning new drummers, and many of them are submitting videos to the band to say, look, this is how good I am, and they're all playing at like 260 beats per minute. So the race is on to replace Spencer Pruitt. You've got all these big names in the death metal community putting their hats in. So who is the accuser? Mike Caputo, the current drummer in Job for a Cowboy and former drummer of Brand of Sacrifice, Rings of Saturn, and the Zenith Passage. Who is the accused? Marco Pitrusella, better known as Lord Marco on YouTube. He's the current drummer for 6 Feet Under and former drummer for Vital Remains and The Faceless. Both of them highly accomplished technical musicians. They're playing death metal. What do you expect? However, Lord Marco is being accused of doctoring his videos and speeding them up when he claims to be recording live playthroughs. So the titles of his videos are even one take, live, no editing, and he's actually editing them. So we have got proof because Caputo has put a YouTube video up now, and he shows how it's impossible for Lord Marco to be playing what are called gravity blast beats when you watch his technique on the video and compare it with the audio. I had to look into what a gravity blast beat is. Here's the definition. This technique uses the rim of the snare drum as a fulcrum, allowing 2 snare hits with 1 downward motion. You probably know what that means, Dave.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So Caputo was actually, he's done this video and he's slowing it down and freezing it and proving that he's actually cheating. So you can see certain frames in the video when his stick is nowhere near the snare, yet you can hear these ultra-fast gravity blast beats. Lord Marco has removed Mike Caputo's queries on his YouTube video page so the public cannot see them. And Lord Marco has also been accused of creating fake burner accounts to attack Mike Caputo. So I think this sums up the controversy. A Reddit post someone has put on. It's extremely irresponsible for a musician to lie to their audience, giving them unrealistic expectations, goals, and aspirations. So I'd like to know your thoughts on this.
What's the question then? So is it okay to do what they've done?
I think we know the answer to that. If you're saying live, one take playthrough, no editing, and then people can prove you have been speeding it up, even if it's only by 7%, then you are cheating, aren't you?
So here's the thing. So so from a financial point of view, so if you make any form of financial gain off it, which obviously if they're monetizing videos and they're sensationalizing it and that's what they're doing from it, then it's not good to do that. As far as if you were to put out a video for entertainment purposes and you edit it to make it look better, so it looks stronger and you do some tweaks afterwards, I don't actually have a problem with that because all you're doing is an entertainment piece. I've had to do videos where I've played the drums, but I actually fucked up the playthrough on the drum, but I'd actually recorded it. And so for a good example of this is I actually did a drum playthrough, filmed it, played it, went phone on the take, and then the memory card screwed up. And I was like, but I've got the take. So I ended up literally having to play it back and play the drums. But I actually put up a disclaimer saying original video fucks up. And this is actually me overplaying it because it wasn't actually meant to be a technique playthrough. But I made a clear disclaimer because I didn't want it to people go, hang on, you missed a hit there, or that wasn't right, or whatever. I think the question is could the guy have actually played it? If he could have actually played it and he's just doctored it afterwards, then fine. I actually have a massive problem with that. But if you can't play it and you're pretending that you did something that you can't actually do, then I do have a problem with that. And we've seen that with things like video game speedrunners. This is another problem where people have claimed that they've done something. Guitar Hero was a great one for that. People showing they could do world record speeds and the fastest. I'm doing a 400 times the speed guitar player. They're like, brrr, and then people are slowing it down, going, well, there's no way you could hit that many notes at that point, and they had to break it down frame by frame. And they were all making monetary gain for it. If you're trying to be the best at something, or you're trying to get a monetized. You're trying to, by being the best at this or by achieving this, you're making something more, you're getting more subscribers, you're getting more Patreons and stuff, then actually, no, you can't do that. It's that basically, it's right to call them out for it, I think.
Yeah, Andy, can I ask your opinion on this, the integrity side of things? I'll give you an example. If someone puts a playthrough video, drummer blindfolded, learns a tech death song, hears it for the first time and plays it note for note, and then you find out that he's edited that, then that's surely the integrity of that musician is called into question, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the sort of scenarios you both described is it's just prevalent in all forms of social media. I mean, I saw something where 30 posts where people have been called out on their social media posts. I mean, it was like someone's, I mean, completely off topic, but someone's like posted that they'd done a somersault on a snowboard in the Canadian mountains or something, and someone said, "Well, that's a January image from the 2019 Snowboarding Association calendar. It's not you, you twat." You know, so I quite like it when people get called out, but yeah, it's bang out of order. I was going to ask, has this got any relevance to what you started the discussion about with the audition for the Drummers of Archspy? Have people doctored their audition videos to try and get the gig, or has it just led you on to talking about this guy who's been called out from doing these gravity blast beats?
My understanding is Archspire had hinted that some of them didn't seem to be authentic. And then Mike Caputo didn't name anyone in his first video and said, what's the term? Call out is the term, isn't it? This epidemic of fake drumming. People quickly worked out who he was talking about. So he came out and said, yes, I was talking about this person. Here's my evidence. But Dave, get back to it. Lord Marco is a highly technical drummer, so he could probably do this. But to me, I just want to go back to that quote that someone's put on Reddit. It's extremely irresponsible for a musician to lie to their audience, giving them unrealistic expectations, goals, and aspirations. What they're saying is, these people are influencers, and you think, oh, I'm never going to be as good as this person. How do I get to this standard? And it turns out even they're manipulating what they can do. It's not possible to do that. Can you imagine if Steve Vai was caught out of this, that everyone would be gutted, wouldn't it? It's like, what? So he was never that good all along. Clearly he is.
I wouldn't be gutted.
Yeah, he won't be gutted.
I mean,
irresponsible as well.
So here is where I kind of think on it is, if you need someone like that to be your inspiration, your aspiration, that you're that dedicated to that person, that you want to be that good as that person, get a life. I mean, seriously, that you be happy with what you can achieve. Unfortunately, you were never going to be as you might be better. You could do something better, but if you can't, some people got natural ability. Some of these drummers will spend 8 hours a day just drumming non-stop. They've got their mums who basically said, no, you don't have to go and get a job. It's fine. You can live in the basement, blah, blah, blah. And they sit there and they'll do this. And then they start up a YouTube channel and that. They've got nothing else apart from drumming in their entire life. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. But I just think there's more important things in life than this, really.
Yeah.
It's like
community.
There is so much fakery. There is so much bullshit and lying on every element of social media.
Yeah.
Especially in music and bands and gigs and everything else. I am so sick. This is my big lying thing is there are two things that bands do that really wind me up where they lie. One, they've got a gig coming up and then they go, guys, tickets are selling really fast. We're all going to sell out. There's hardly any left. Get them now. And you're like, and I know because I can see ticket data sometimes. I'm like, we've sold 4, you fuckers. Stop basically trying to do this full sense.
It's a sales technique.
Because guess what? Do you know what happens when you tell people and go, oh, we're almost sold out, getting quick. They're going, oh, well, I was going to come, but actually, if you've already sold enough tickets, it's all right. I won't bother coming because you've got enough people now. And suddenly those people don't come that would have actually gone. That's what's really annoying. And the other one is where I know that people have played gigs to like 4 people. And the next day go, wow, you guys were amazing. That was a great gig, great crowd, great people. I'm like, just say there was fucking no one there, for fuck's sake.
Well, no, you're not going to put a post saying, oh, nobody turned out last night. It was shit. Why did we bother doing this?
I usually go, thanks for the few people that did come out and see us. Thank you very much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. And we had a great night.
It doesn't sound sarcastic when you word it like that, to be fair.
Yeah, it's when people say they had an amazing night with a great crowd, and I'm like, there were 5 people in the audience. What the fuck are you on about?
And 2 of them were your parents.
It's just this over exaggeration. It's that lying to a crowd.
So what's the second one then? You said you've got 2 pet heads.
That was both of them. Lying both about gigs in ways. But anything else from you then? Come on, let's get to the final bit of news then.
That's it from me.
Okay, I had an update on J.K. Lee because obviously last week he was shot in the early hours in Las Vegas. and he was actually shot because he was confronting some motorcycle thieves. So when he came out, he was walking his dog, and there were some guys that were trying to steal a motorcycle from one of his neighbors. He confronted them, and the idea was that they'd actually said, "Look," he was like, "You guys just stop it. You go one way, I'll go the other way." And unfortunately, it didn't happen that way, and he got shot. So, but he's recovering fine. But that was the background behind that. So I thought we'd just give you an update on that. And here's one: Gene Simmons. We know how much of an amazing bass player he is. So he's kind of done in a chat with Guitar World. He's talked about how he doesn't like Flea's approach to playing bass. So Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers,
amazing musician.
I know. So he's basically said, I've got to read the actual quote from here. In all due respect, but that kind of music is intended to show off how well you play. But I don't care about that. The hardest thing to do is write a good, simple song or riff. That's really hard. So what you're saying, Gene, is you can't actually play the bass very well. And the easiest thing you can do is play simple chord progressions. Is what I've watched his bass playing. He's awful. He's an awful bass player. He's an awful singer. But they had an interesting characteristic as a band in this, what was it, the 70s as Kiss. But I find it really odd because was he on like Dancing with the Stars as well recently?
Sorry.
He was a judge on. This is a guy who can't dance for shit, and he's a judge. And he's been put as a judge, and he made some controversial I think sexist comments and stuff on them.
I was made for loving you. They did go in a disco direction at one point.
Yeah, they have. And all it was like dun 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 dun. That's his bass lines are so. I find it really funny that we still even tolerate this guy.
Did we do a Gene Simmons song on here? Didn't he
Prodigy cover, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That guy really just needs to retire gracefully and go away. What a knob. Anyway, right. Should we talk about any album releases? Because there's not much this week. It was very slim pickings, in my opinion.
That was you stole my line, Dave. I mean, shall I kick it off as I've jumped in there?
Go on. What have you got for this week that you're interested in?
Usually I look at Loudwire, and I thought there's not much on there, so I looked at a couple of other sites, Metal Sucks and whatever, and really they're not even a band that I follow particularly, but the only one that I was going to sort of bring to everybody's attention as one that I could might listen to, because there was dozens that I saw with, I don't know if they're local unsigned bands from wherever they live, but there were no sort of big names jumped out. But Behemoth, where are they from, Kirk? Can't remember. Poland, yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of veteran black metal band are releasing 30 Years of Blasphemy, spelled OV, Dave. You'll love that, as are some of the songs. A couple of songs have got OV, which is very cult, very black metal. And
very incorrect in the English grammar.
Yeah. And interestingly, I can't remember exactly what the restrictions were, but this album consists of sort of 3 performances, 3 different locations, which sort of made it, they didn't contravene the COVID restrictions at the time. I don't know what was going on in Poland, but they couldn't do proper live shows, but they could do live streams. So they got together as a band and done sort of 3 30-minute sets in 2021, and it's been released this Friday, I guess, to celebrate their 30 years from when they formed. But it's sort of some bumper packs that, if you're a fan, sort of 3 CD box sets and 3 LP sets, 6 tracks per disc, so 666, very, very clever. But yeah, that's really the only sort of new release that sort of even slightly interested me. It doesn't feature the one and only Behemoth song I do know and like, which is Blow Your Trumpets, Gabriel.
Good video, that as well.
Yeah, brilliant video, really engaging song. Should have got me interested and sort of downloading and listening to the album it's from, which I think is called The Satanist. But yeah, slim pickings, to use your phrase, though, which is what I was going to say. There's nothing that I could see. I mean, there's a Motorhead one. I don't know if that's a re-release, but I don't like Motorhead either. But yeah, hopefully you've got something a bit more interesting, Kirk.
Yeah, I've got 3. We choose 3, don't we? So,
well, should
first
do.
one, you'll love the name of this band, Better Lovers. You're just thinking, how can that be heavy music? Hardcore band, signed to Sharp Tone Records, and it's a super group. So you've got Greg Puciato on vocals, ex Dillinger Escape Plan, 3 members of that well-rated metalcore band Every Time I Die. So Jordan Buckley on guitars, Clayton Holyoke on drums, and Stephen Machichi on bass. And then you've got the deathcore producer extraordinaire Will Putney on guitars as well. He's also the guitarist in Fit for an Autopsy. They actually have a tour with the noise grind band Full of Hell in November in the US, and they come over to
OV again.
Oh yeah, no, it's not. No, it's Full of Hell. It's actually
Oh, do you not? Sorry.
and they're playing 7 UK tour dates in January 2025. So really heavy, more hardcore punk than metal, but there are some mathcore elements. So Better Lovers, and it's called Highly Irresponsible. The second one, avant-garde black metal, and it's the Swiss band Shamash. The new album is called The Maldoror Chants Old Ocean, released via Prosthetic Records. Now, I got into these in 2019. Their album Hearts of No Light won the Reader's Album of the Year in that magazine, Zero Tolerance. So I was like, whoa, who is this band? And it's really for fans of Triptychon, Bloodhouse Node, Deathspell Omega, Imperial Triumphant, artists like that. Already quite an influential band on that dissonant avant-garde black metal type scene. And then finally, Heavy Devi, Devin Townsend, Power Nerd. The Canadian metal genius has got a new album out on Inside Out Music, the 21st solo album of his career, if we include the records from the Devin Townsend project, which actually was a band. He's promised that it would be exceptionally heavy, which is great news to strapping young lad fans like me who love the extreme metal material that he produced for Century Media in the mid 1990s to the early 2000s. So really looking forward to that. The last album didn't really catch my attention, but I loved his 2019 album Empath, which was my album of the year when it came out. So yeah, big expectations on this if he's saying that it's going to be exceptionally heavy.
Cool. So I had Devin Townsend as well. So I find it quite interesting what he comes out with. What was your second one you had?
Shamash.
Okay, no, it wasn't that one.
Yeah. Did you have Better Lovers then on your list?
Sorry?
Did you have Better Lovers?
No.
No.
So I was interested by the fact that Motorhead put out this singles one. So We Take No Prisoners, which is the singles from 1995 to 2006, which is basically a 2-track. It's a 2 CD pack, 22 songs in total, of which, looking at them, I don't recognize any of the fucking songs on here, which makes me kind of wonder about which songs I do remember, because maybe all the good ones were pre-90s.
I was just quite honest. But shout out some ones that I might know, but I don't think you're going to, are you?
I was just going from like Sacrifice, Love for Sale, Take the Blame, God Save the Queen.
That's a bit of Sex Pistols cover.
One More Fucking Time, See Me Burning, Whorehouse Blues. I'm like, to be honest, I don't see the point. I mean, obviously, Lemmy's not there. Band's not a going concern anymore. So who's this aimed at? I mean, if you're a Motorhead fan, you have the albums. In the streaming platform days, what's the purpose of this CD? Apart from to try to milk some money out of someone who wants something extra. I mean, there's a couple of live versions of this. There's 2 live songs and a interview with Mickey D and Lemmy at the end. That's it. It's really not worth a bloody CD for it for me.
Cool collectors, isn't it? Let's do that same debt.
It's just ripping off fans again. But I suppose if someone wants it, I guess fair enough. But I just don't see the point in that personally with a band that's not a going concern anymore. The other one I had was Fit for an Autopsy. And the album is The Nothing That Is. It's an American deathcore band, been around since 2008. I have know a little bit as far as I've checked them out a couple of times. This is actually their 7th album that's coming out, and they're touring the UK in November. Interesting band. You've got some riffs in there that do remind me of kind of the latter day, like reinventing the Steel Pantera.
Gojira,
real heavy. Gojira, stuff like that. They've got some real heavy stuff in there. And actually, I really like the guy's vocals. He's got some really cool deathcore vocals in there. but not like screamy sort of vocal like deathcore. He's got a real guttural sense. So definitely a band we should check out more on the channel. But yeah, that's probably it. I mean, I went through the list of bands and I'm like, looked at the labels, looked at the band names, looked at the titles, and I went, there's just nothing grabbing my attention this one. Now that might just mean that we just need to invest in trying to understand these bands more, because there was no real big heavy hitters this week, unfortunately for us. But if anyone knows of any bands that we should have checked out from this week, let us know, and maybe we'll check them out on the channel. That's everything we've got for this week. Thank you very much for joining us today, and I guess we'll see you on the video sometime very soon. Well, we'll definitely see you on next week's live stream. So thank you very much. Done. I'll edit bits out into the